One of my topics here was the LeBron piece and what's going to happen to LeBron. And let me play something off here. Windhorse was on a podcast. I think he was on Barstool Sports. And let me just kind of read here about some of the options here for LeBron and what we think he's going to do. Brian Windhorse on LeBron James. If he thinks that the Lakers may want to try to offer him less or not give him the no trade clause, he could, in theory, just opt into his contract, which, by the way, Shams Charania, he did say that on Pat McAfee's show that he does think he will opt into his contract. And he could just say, I'm opting into my contract because I'm taking it year to year and not indicate that there was any issue with the Lakers. But I do think it's in the cards that he's taking less money. It's not that necessarily he wants every dime. Although he does want every dime, I don't think he believes that free agency has got anybody in it where it takes less money and the Lakers could use their mid-level exception and have a transformational player. They may disagree with that, and they may come to him with a plan where they show him that if you take $12 million less, we can sign this guy and maybe he'll change his mind. But as far as I know from my conversations, the intention is for him to continue to make all the max which he has earned. Okay. I'm gonna probably do something a little bit different than maybe goes against a little bit what I typically say. So usually I say, hey, you're a player, you're worth X amount of dollars, go get your money. And that's just kind of the reality of it. If there's ever a year that I'd like to see LeBron James make a sacrifice for the better of the team, listen, he doesn't have to. Like, I want to make sure I emphasize here. Yes, people can say, hey, Bron's worth $1 billion. Take 15, 16 million less, dollars or whatever the case is. That's not how the world works. But if there's ever a year that I would like to see LeBron James say, you know what, I'm going to restructure my deal and I'm going to opt out and I'm going to do something that's team friendly so the Lakers can go out there. Now, the Lakers have to have a specific plan. Pelinka's got to have a specific plan. He's got to bring something to the table to LeBron and say, if you take less money, look who we can bring on this team and this roster, and our chances of competing will, significantly grow because we got to put together a roster that makes sense. If there's ever a year that LeBron can be a hero for the Los Angeles Lakers, I really do think it's this summer. Again, I understand he doesn't have to do it, but Sammy, they need help, and they might need help from one of the biggest corporations in the world called LeBron James Inc.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's tough. I mean, everyone's sitting here. You go take less money, and then if you were in that spot, you'd probably be taking all the money. But I do think LeBron is an exception. And I hear some people go, "Well, why doesn't Luka take less money?" Luka's 26 years old. Yeah, like I get where Luka's like, no, I'm one of the best players in the league. I'm 26. Like, I'm going to make all the money. When you're 41 years old, I believe LeBron bought a $60 million house in the bubble when he hadn't even seen it. He just purchased it off the thing. Like, this guy is not hurting for cash. He is, as you said, a corporation who is just printing money in movie deals, got a podcast, he's got more money than his kids could ever spend. So when you're talking about legacy for LeBron, when you talk about, Jordan and or whatever you think for the GOAT, another ring would do massive service. And let's not say that he's not taking $10 million. I mean, he's not playing taking, instead of 52.6, he's taking, the $12 million pay cut. He's taking around 40. And I understand where he's like, I want a plan. I want someone to say, or Pelinka to go, we need this player. I'm not just taking less money so you guys can get under the cap. But I mean, if you were willing to do it last year, and what frustrated me last year didn't really help because he said, what was it? It was Valanciunas, Clay, and James Harden, I'll take a pay cut for. Well, you had the only guy that was a free agent was Valanciunas. And so it didn't really actually help the Lakers because then all those teams knew that if they had to trade for him or Valanciunas, they were going to have to sign for a lot more because they were one of three players that LeBron was going to take a pay cut for. So I like those conversations to be in-house, whether it's like, hey, if you get this, and this guy, I'll take a pay cut. But coming out with this whole thing of I'll take a pay cut for three players doesn't actually really help the Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want to emphasize this. It's not LeBron's responsibility to run the Lakers. Now, granted, LeBron's had wild influence in the Los Angeles Lakers. That just comes, there's a few players that have that power, and let's just say LeBron has that power. And, if LeBron has given his input before about free agents or trades or coaches or whatever the case is, like that comes with the territory. LeBron is going to, wield that power, and he should. If there's ever a summer that the Lakers can use some help, it would be this summer. And listen, I think if you said, all right, well, what's the benefit to LeBron to take less money? Again, I'm only saying this if the right player presents itself. If the right player doesn't present itself, then this is a moot point. It's not a conversation. And frankly, then LeBron, go get your money. And whether it's his last year or it's not his last year, we'll have to wait and see. The only thing I'm just saying is if there's ever, like from LeBron's perspective too, it kind of looks a little bit like a hero if he can help the Lakers. I think there's also a part of this where people will look at him and be like, damn, that's kind of a baller move that guy took less money to try to help the franchise. And also from just a competitive perspective, I mean, what's the goal here? I mean, Bron is still putting up crazy numbers. He's still obviously playing like he's 35, not 40. If he's got a shot to put together and help put together a more, like you said, was Minnesota that much better than the Lakers, or did the Lakers just not have any bigs and just weren't able to compete? What can that ultimately look like? It kind of makes him look like a hero too.
Well, and LeBron this is where I get a little frustrated because it's like LeBron's got to ask himself, do you want to make all the money, which, as you pointed out, is completely within his rights. He still plays like one of the best players in the NBA. He's an all-NBA player, one of the all-time greats.
And he's underpaid. If this was baseball, LeBron's not making $52 million. LeBron's making, the only reason why LeBron makes the money he does is because there's literally a hard cap and he can't make any more.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like brand and global value, he'd be making like Ohtani money. I mean, seriously, if you were in the NBA in terms of his jersey sales. The only problem is this, though. Do you want to play every minute? Because what I don't want to hear is no pay cut. And then halfway into the season, we're hearing out of LeBron's camp about how LeBron's tired. They're running him into the ground. This is ridiculous. He's not getting help from the bench. You would get help from the bench if you took a little less money. So it's like if you're gonna play, if you're gonna get paid a max salary, you need to be able to play max salary level minutes. And unfortunately, it's hard to ask him that because he is 41.
And can I be honest with you? I think then that to me is more on the Lakers than it is on LeBron, because they're already asking him to do everything. And I think in a perfect world, LeBron would love to be sitting there in the fourth quarter and hanging out and chilling and know that the Lakers, have locked up a win, or there's all these other young players that are helping the Lakers out and everything else. I think there's only so much responsibility on Bron, but again, I just kind of go back to this, and this conversation came up because I'm reading what Windhorse had on that podcast. In a perfect world, here's by the way, so here's just to give everybody kind of the difference of what it could open up. The projected $14.1 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception, and then the $5.9 million taxpayer mid-level exception could be the difference between, for the Lakers, basically competing for a championship or not. So that's kind of the only thing that the Lakers have access to if LeBron takes a sizable cut. So that's what LeBron is kind of wielding here, if he wants to use it or not. So
yeah, and it's like, I know this kind of free agency is not considered a great free agency. That's why a lot of the conversation around Dorian Finney-Smith, should the Lakers pay him? And I would say yes, simply because you need a wing. You need a wing, 3-and-D wing defender, and a guy who can hit threes. And there's not really that many on the market. But I think there are some valid players that could really. I mean, you could swing a trade for a center. They called on Okongwu. Miles Turner would be fantastic. We'll see if maybe they keep him because he might be going to the NBA Finals. But like a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, a guy like that, knows he immediately put you over the top to go to the finals. But you need more players like that. And I think Minnesota really exposed that in their series, because Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and players like that just had a field day guarding the Lakers. So I think that there are some minor moves to be made that could really help this roster.
Yeah, and Minnesota's also, they're not going to be able to. Minnesota has Naz Reid, Julius Randle. They got decisions to make. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So there's they're not going to be able to bring all three players back. I saw actually Brian Windhorst on that same podcast was talking about they're not going to be able to bring all three players back. So, obviously some of these teams are going to have some decisions to make as well. All right, let me see here. Okay, so let me ask you this question. Here's the vibe I'm getting. Every time I bring, by the way, I get it. I'm looking at some of the comments here. People saying Bron is worth 1.2 billion. Take less money, guys. It's just I get it. It's just
he has 1.2 billion.
It's just not how the world works. You're going to be making. He's got to be making what he thinks. Obviously, his value is, and he's only going to take less if he genuinely believes, hey, we're bringing in somebody that can significantly help. So we'll see what LeBron ends up doing. I do think from a public relations perspective, freaking Laker fans would absolutely, love, obviously, if he did something to help the squad out and go from there. All right. Thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.